In this video, we are going to continue our understanding of percent by exploring how they can be related to fractions and decimals. So fractions, decimals, and percents are three ways to describe parts of one whole. So a fraction can be written as a decimal or a decimal can be written as a fraction or a percent can be written as a fraction or a decimal. So I can interchange between these three as many times or as however I would like. We can use a percent to describe any part of one whole where one whole is equal to 100%. So in this situation here, I have my 100 grid, 25 are colored in, so 25 over 100, or 0.25, or 25%. If I have this shape here, it asks what percent of this shape is shaded. So 1, 2, 3 out of 4 are shaded, so 3/4 of the shape. Now, when we want to look at this as a percent, we need to think of it as out of 100. So we need to write an equivalent fraction with hundredths. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our 3/4, and our goal is to write it over 100. And so oftentimes when I do this, I actually started a little bit different, where I'll start with my 3 out of 4 is equal to something out of 100. And I'll leave that top part blank. And so what we need to figure out is, what do I need to multiply 4 by to get to this 100? And so sometimes it's a little bit more challenging, but 4 is easier than others because we can use our understanding of money and the fact that a quarter is worth 25 cents. So if I multiply 4 by 25, I get 100, and 3 by 25 gets me 75. Now I have this written as a fraction out of 100, which means I can take just the top numbers and write it as 75%. Now, if I want to know what this is in terms of a decimal, I can take my top number and divide by the bottom, or I can work with, I have 75 out of 100 of those little squares in my 100 tile colored in, and so that would be 0.75. So 75% of my shape is shaded. Now, this is a nice one to think about too, because if I have 3/4 in my pocket in terms of the money, I know that I have 75 cents, and that is 75%. So it's kind of another way that we can think about that using something that we're already quite familiar with. Here's another situation where I have some counters. And so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yellow ones, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 counters total. So 6 out of the 12 of the counters are yellow. Now I can try and turn 12 into 100. However, that's really challenging because it doesn't work out very nicely, and I can't actually multiply 12 by anything to get 100. So another thing that I can do is I can simplify my fraction first. So an equivalent fraction of 6 over 12 is 1/2, because I can divide the top number by 2 and the bottom number by 2. And so when I get that 1/2 is telling me half of 100 is 0.5. So oftentimes we think of, if you have half of something, you have 0.5 of something. That's something we're pretty familiar with. And that is 50%. So 50% of the counters are yellow in this case. In this fish tank, we have rainbow fish and goldfish. So the ratio of rainbow fish to goldfish is 1 to 4. This is pulling on last unit of ratios. So I have 1 rainbow fish and 4 goldfish in my tank. So what is the percent of the fish that are rainbow fish? Now, I have to remember that this ratio is part to part. It's not part to whole. So I need to know how many total fish are there. So I need to add them together to get 5. And I know that 1 out of 5 fish are rainbow fish. And I can look at my picture here and know 1 out of the total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are rainbow fish. So 1 out of 5 are rainbow fish, so that's 1 over 5, which is 20%. or 0.2 and 20%. So I know that 20% of the fish are rainbow fish. Now these practice questions are going to ask you to move in between fractions, decimals, and percentages, sort of back and forth, and get creative. Within the lesson, I have also linked you to a base 10 block online tool if you would like to use those, because I know it does say draw base 10 blocks and you do not have them at home. So you can use those if you would like to help support you as you go through this. If you have any questions, please let me know and we can work to get through them.